Welcome to the award-winning PrepZone Show. I'm your host, Johnathan Bentley, joined by my co-host, Zak McCullough. Zak, it was a crazy week, especially in some college games.
Let's not talk about that this early.
You always do this to me.
I know, I always pat you on the shoulder.
It's payback time. I mean, Auburn lost anyway.
Yeah, they got beat.
It's fine.
But they
were supposed to lose.
They did look terrible.
It's different when you're supposed to lose.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that.
I'm used to it.
I wouldn't understand that.
All right, so before we get to college, we're actually going to start with high school. This is kind of our focus.
It wasn't
here.
a bad high school week. It really wasn't. It wasn't bad.
There were a couple really good games. Then you look at some of these, and we have teams that have trouble scoring.
Yeah, we did. It wasn't all great. And then we had some teams that did a really good job of scoring, a lot of points.
Yes.
So
and
it evened itself out.
We'll start with, since it's the only undefeated remaining, spoiler alert, because another team lost. We won't talk about that team yet. Winston County, 32, Lexington 6.
Really, really good win for Winston County. Impressive. I mean, we've said it already. Winston County's got a really good shot at going undefeated for the rest of the season. Don't want to give them
not going to say that anymore.
I don't want to do that, but still, man, they look really good.
Yeah, that was another impressive win. Lexington, this was a game the coach was a little bit worried about, and they mopped the floor with them as usual. Their defense is incredible, which you talk about the offense because it's easy to talk about.
Right. Offense
but the defense is just really doing well. A team, speaking of defense, one that's usually struggled this year on defense is Dora, but they beat Haleyville 42-28.
That's right. When you've got Jaden Griffin on your team, defense really doesn't have to show up. You'd like for it to, but it seems like Jaden Griffin could just beat teams by himself.
I like games like that. I like offense. I like the old Cordova teams when they were really good and they would win like 57-45 and stuff like that. I really like that.
Games.
It is not good for a coach though.
No,
their blood pressure.
It's not good. It can be stressful.
A game you went to, Lynn 28, Berry 26, maybe the game of the week.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic game. Lynn, they're still dealing with injuries, and they were playing an undefeated Berry team. And Lynn just kind of, I wouldn't say they dominated because Berry was able to run the ball efficiently. But Braylon Roberts and J.P. Burkett both looked outstanding. And Lynn, they've only got that one loss to Hackleburg in non-region play. This game was really for the region almost. So Lynn's just got to take care of a few teams left, and they're going to be the 1 seed.
It's funny about J.P. Burkett. At the start of the season, he wasn't the guy.
No, he was a defensive. I mean, he's really good at defense. We've known that for a while. Now he's on the offense, and he's scored 7 touchdowns in his last 2 games.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. They just have another guy step up, Like Hackleburg, I think he had 6 carries for 8 yards.
Right.
They were just – I think the Hackleburg game, looking back, they were trying to find out what worked.
Right.
They tried everybody in that game. But Burkett is, really come on. Big win for Lynn. I missed that when I picked Berry. What was I thinking?
Yeah,
right?
What were you thinking? You can't pick against
I remember a Parish Berry game at Berry, and it was awful. Went overtime. Parish lost. And I guess that's still in my mind, even though it was like 15 years ago.
Wow.
That's the last time I went to Berry.
Really?
Yep.
You ought to go there. It's a nice place.
And a good team now.
They have a really good team.
So the other undefeated we had going in this week was Corner. And Briarwood Christian beat some 31-6 on homecoming.
And Briarwood Christian was 1-5.
Yes.
Hard.
I think Corner probably saw that, not knowing this was actually a pretty good team.
Yeah, Briarwood's got a good team, and obviously it's homecoming. That brings all kinds of distractions for the team. It can be really good if you win on homecoming, but like I say, where the distractions pile up, and something like this can happen.
Yeah. I'm going to chalk that up to homecoming and craziness.
Right.
Because Briarwood Christian beat the number 4 team last week, beats a ranked Corner team this last week, and
those are their only wins.
They were 0-5 going into that. But, I mean, the 5 were pretty good. Winona's good this year. They're undefeated, except for Corner.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Briarwood Christian's better than their record.
They are better than
Maybe
their
they got some players back. Maybe something
maybe injuries or something. You don't know.
Nope. So, now we'll go to Fayette County 26, Cordova 7.
It seems like the same result of all your Cordova games.
Almost every score is the same.
The defense is able to keep it within striking distance. The offense just can never catch up, and it can never really get going. And, it's not been a very good season for Cordova, but they've still got a few weeks left to turn it around.
Yeah, they have a good defense.
They do.
I was at this game, Good Hope 39, Curry 3. I will say this for Curry. Miller made a 45-yard field goal.
He's a good kicker. Miller's a really good kicker.
It's a big-time field goal. But Good Hope takes care of it. They're up to number 6 in the rankings.
They're
now.
undefeated, aren't they?
Undefeated, yes. Very surprising this year. Winfield 41, Carbon Hill 6. I guess no surprise there.
Yeah, no surprise there. Winfield's having a really good season. Carbon Hill's still trying to figure some things out. Carbon Hill, they have Phil Campbell this week, but Gordo's still left on the schedule, so that's not good.
No, that is not good for anybody. Gordo and Winfield very, very tough this year, as usual. No surprise. Meek 50, Shoals Christian 0.
Shoals Christian is, I don't want to insult anybody, but they've really, really struggled. Meek, they are at this point they're 3-3, so they needed that win.
Mm-hmm.
They're right up to 500. Got a big game this week at home.
Huge.
Maybe they're turning it around. Hope so.
I think they're on a little win streak here. And Shoals Christian, I remember the days they used to give Lynn a battle.
Really?
Not that long ago, but yeah, struggling this year. Addison, kind of similar. They go all the way to Waterloo and win 51-6.
That must have been a nice ride back. You just whooped Waterloo, long drive, but a fun one. Waterloo's they're one of the teams that struggled. Addison, on the other hand, has not struggled that much ever since their first game of the season against Winston County, which was surprisingly ugly. They lost a closer one to Hackleburg. Other than that,
Good Hope.
It's been a good season for Addison. Yeah, but you're playing an undefeated team in 4A. Good Hope.
That's really, for a 1A, that's asking a lot.
That is asking a lot.
Yeah,
and
Good Hope was really good this year.
It wasn't that terrible of a loss. I know it wasn't great, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I commend Addison for playing those top games. South Lamar gets his first win, beating Summit Christian 54-22.
It was kind of a high-scoring game. South Lamar, they've had a tough schedule. This week they had Summit Christian. They prepared well, apparently, and the Stallions get their first win of the season. Mm-hmm. For Summit Christian, not going well, but the offense clicked a little bit.
At least they got 23 touchdowns.
The offense clicked.
And last but not least, of course, it's one of the better games too. Gordo 32, Oakman 27. Oakman was that close.
I know it. And every time Oakman goes down to Gordo, I said this last week, it's close, but they can never pull it out. This season just one of those.
The exact same thing. I mean, they were winning at halftime, and it was kind of back and forth. Then they were down 12. They come all the way back. They get within striking. I think they were at the 9-yard line, 7 or 9-yard line, to go ahead, and couldn't punch it in. And then Gordo ran the clock out. Very good. Oakman is. I think they're a lot better this year, and their record's going to be the same. And everything could look exactly the same.
And I almost guarantee you when they get to the playoffs, because I think they've already got this. I think they've already, they're very close to clinching a playoff spot. They always wind up with a terribly tough opponent to play.
They'll get the best team in the state.
They'll get the best team
on
the
road.
State. Yeah. Even though Oakman will probably be the 3 seed.
Or they could just beat Winfield.
And be the 2 seed.
And and you know what would happen then? Somebody get upset and they'd have to play Piedmont or something like that. Or Fife, which is...
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes, we are. All right, so let's jump to the top players of the week. What about we had 4 guys go for over 200 yards this week? Is that not crazy?
That's unbelievable.
That's good.
We've got
really good. Yeah, and I guess it's the usual suspects for the most part.
For the most part.
We'll start out with the player of the week, which is it's the second time he's won it. You mentioned him earlier, Jaden Griffin, 22 for 270 and 5 touchdowns.
Oh my word, he's like a highlight reel every single game, and he's most of their offense. Let's see, 5 touchdowns. Dora scored 6 in the game.
One more.
They had one more. So, it's incredible what he's doing, and this is against Haleyville, which is not a bad team at all.
Yes.
So he could be the player of the week almost every single time. I
call it the Tony Dixon thing, because back when he played, when I first got here, he could have won it every single week. I mean, it's just, if you wanted to give it to him, if it was a down week, just give it to Dixon, because he had 200 yards every week. Tim Simon was kind of the same way at Cordova. But we have another great one in Tyler Thomas, another 262 and 3 touchdowns against Gordo. On the road.
Those Gordo,
that's pretty good.
The Gordo fans, I know the coaches and the players, they've already seen him on film. They know what he can do. The Gordo fans, I'm sure, were surprised, like, whoa, who's this kid that Oakman's got that's putting up 262 yards on us?
That's just, you don't do that against Gordo on the road.
I'm sure he impressed a lot of people with that performance.
Yeah, that really, I think that's his best game of the year because of the opponent there.
Right.
All right, a guy you saw last week, you mentioned Burkett.
Yeah, J.P. Burkett for Lynn. 22 rushes, 201 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, down from 4 the last week, but led his team to a very hard-fought victory over Barry. Just had an outstanding game. And like you mentioned earlier, he's come up from really out of nowhere because at the beginning of the season, they didn't utilize him rushing. He was a linebacker, defensive specialist. Now he's really living out to his full potential on the team, running the ball a lot and doing a great job.
Yes. And I think he has a shot to get to 1,000 yards, even with a late start. All right, Meeks, Hunter Wyatt, only had 10 carries, but rushed for 243 yards.
That's 24 yards a carry. That's really good. And I know it's against Shoals Christian, but still, anytime you can put up those numbers, it's impressive.
24 a carry, crazy.
And 2 touchdowns.
Yes, man. He's had that's 2 games in a row where he's over 150, I believe. All right, so we'll jump into this week's games. It's a pretty full slate.
But it's really not an outstanding slate. Those are the ones that'll get you. We've learned that. But
yeah, especially in college.
Oh.
But we'll start with Shoals at Jasper. Muscle Shoals 5-1. Our old buddy from Cordova, Scott Basin, is coach at Muscle Shoals. He's been there for like 17 years.
He's got a well-established program.
Yes, he turned that team into a powerhouse. And Jasper 4-2, coming off an off week. What do you see happening here?
Well, Jasper's had an extra week to prepare, so I think we're going to see some wrinkles from the Vikings, but still they're playing Muscle Shoals. And it's at Jasper. That'll help, but I have to go with Muscle Shoals in this one. But I think it'll be fairly close.
Yeah, when I saw Shoals beat Athens and Athens beat Jasper by 30, of course you can't do that. It doesn't matter, but I think this is a tough ask for Jasper, so I'm going with Shoals there. Big rivalry game. I think this is number 101 or 2.
102, I think.
Cordova's 1-5 at Dora 4-3. Homecoming for Dora.
It's homecoming for Dora, which has to be kind of an insult to Cordova because you usually schedule your easier teams as homecoming. So I think that, and because it's a rivalry, Cordova is going to put together one of the best games we've seen from them all season. I just don't think it's going to be enough to stop Jaden Griffin. I think they'll slow him down because Cordova's got an outstanding defense, but I don't think it'll be enough. Yeah,
their strength is the defense, and they're going to need it. But I don't know. I think it'll be kind of like a Cordova game. You keep it close for a half or 3 quarters, and the other team pulls away a little bit. Dora does have some firepower, so that'll be tough, but I'm going with Dora this year. What about this one? Oakman 4-2 at Winfield 5-1.
This is a very interesting matchup, and Winfield is an outstanding game. Their only loss was the first one of the season to Corner. Oakman, they just came off of a hard-fought loss to Cordova. They fought so hard, and they still got beat. So we're either going to see an inspired Oakman team that is fired up or an exhausted Oakman team. And I do think we're going to see a fired up Wildcats, but just not enough to beat Winfield. Very close. I think it'll be very, very close. A lot closer than most people would think. Really? But I'm going to have to go with the Pirates.
Yeah, I remember last year I picked Oakman.
You did?
And it was 42-0. Ugh. Yes. I don't know. It seemed like Winfield has their number. This Oakman team is better. I think there's no question about that.
Because they really didn't lose too terribly much.
No, and I think Winfield is also better, though.
Yes, Winfield's better.
And now if this was at Oakman, maybe. But it's hard to win at Winfield, especially when they're good, like this year. So I'm going to pick Winfield. Maybe that'll help Oakman.
Hope so.
Since I picked them last year. And they
give some momentum. Yes. Or not some momentum, but some motivation.
Yeah. They could use whatever they can get. That's a tough place to play. And I don't enjoy going there. Curry 0-7 at Fayette County 3-3. Fayette County's kind of bounced back from a slow start.
They have. They started off very slow. Looking a lot better. This should be an easy win for the Tigers.
All right, Carbon Hill at Phil Campbell. Oh, this game is on a Thursday, by the way.
It is
our only Thursday game.
Our only Thursday game, so more eyeballs will be on it. It's at Phil Campbell. Phil Campbell has a good home atmosphere. A lot of people show up to watch their team play. Because of that, I'm going to have to go with Phil Campbell.
Yes, their win was over Vinemont, which Carbon Hill lost pretty badly to. Right. So I'm going Phil Campbell, mainly because it's on the road. Usually this is a big game. Marion County 3-3 though this year at Lynn 6-1.
Yeah, Marion County's been a little down, but I think they'll come out. They'll play inspired. Lynn's coming off of a grueling victory, so it might be close for a little bit. But I can't pick against Lynn. Not after seeing what they've done. No. Bears probably going to win this one.
Yeah, I'm not making that mistake again this year.
Don't do it.
Lynn, I see them moving to 7-1. This is a tough game. Barry coming off that loss we just mentioned to Lynn. At Summoning Christian 1-5.
Barry's going to be fired up, and I think they're going to win pretty handily. So
I think so too. Tough game for Summoning Christian, tough draw. It's a tough region for them.
It is pretty tough.
And in the same region as Summit Christian are Addison and Meek. Addison 4-3 at Meek 3-3.
This is a very interesting matchup because
Another rivalry game.
It's at Meek. Meek also has a good home atmosphere.
Yes,
Rivalry. It seems like everybody in Winston County is their rivals, and so I love it when they play each other, especially region game. But I'm gonna go with Addison here. I think it'll be close. I think Meek will keep it low scoring, kind of control the clock. But in the end, I'm going with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I agree. The same. I think they'll both run the ball a lot.
Right, be a quick game.
And they'll run that clock. Yes, and it'll be probably low scoring and close. I'm going to Addison, but I love going to Meek for a game like this.
Oh, yes.
I think I went 2 years ago, and it was just packed, and it'll be like that again. And people really don't know, but their basketball games are really good to go to. They're just wild and loud. All right, last game, Corner 5-1, coming off that bad loss last week at one of their rivals, Hayden 2-5.
I can imagine that Corner they're having a week in practice right now where they're working on everything extra after really getting embarrassed last week. They're going to come back strong. Corner, I think. Give me the Yellow Jackets. Pretty big.
Yeah, I think so as well. They're going to be motivated this week. And Winston County is off this week after going 7-0. I guess they need.
Yeah, they deserve a week off.
All right, so now we jump into our top five. Hey, actually, I think it's made it easier with Corner losing.
It has made
game.
it easier. We have clear number one
because we've had Corner and Winston County back and forth. Who's your fifth?
My number 5 is going to be Jasper. They had last week off. It's been up and down season. They had started off really good, went down. They have a little momentum after beating Dora. A week off to work on things. I know they have a tough schedule the rest of the way, but maybe they can pull something out.
I have Dora at 5th, just because Haleyville. They have Haleyville's number, but that really put them in. I mean, they're 4-0 in games that matter.
That's right.
Now, they lost other games that didn't matter, but yeah, the games that matter, they've won. Some of them really, really close. But they're 5. What about your 4?
My number 4 is going to be Oatman. They're coming off of a very close loss. You can't really punish them for that in the rankings because it's against Gordo. Tyler Thomas has been fantastic. Wildcats, number 4.
Yeah, that's my 4 as well, just because had they won, maybe they'd been 3. I don't know. Probably.
If they'd have won, they might have gone up to number 1. That's an impressive win.
Yeah. Man, I hate they lost that game. But, okay, who do you have in front of them?
Number 3, I've got Corner. They really... I know we've said it before. That's not a great loss last week. Hopefully they can turn it around. They've still got Carver Birmingham left on the schedule, which is going to be pretty tough. But,
yeah, if they want to win region, they're going to have to go through that.
That's going to be big. So.
I have Corner there as well.
Okay.
I think we have the top 3 the same. But number 2, I have Lynn.
Yeah, Lynn as well. They looked really, really good Friday night. Still, not even fully healthy, which they're going to get back to full health very, very soon. This is going to be a team to watch down the stretch.
Yeah, I think they had Austin Dodd one game at quarterback.
Yeah, one game at quarterback.
He went 9-9 passing?
9 of 9, yeah.
9 of 9 passing for the season. And they've only lost that one game, which was game 2 when they were trying to figure things out.
Right.
They ran, I think, Braylon Roberts and Dunnigan at quarterback that week.
Dunnigan and Braylon Roberts. And I'll say, to start the game, Barry had gone on a long scoring drive, taking almost half the first quarter. They're up 6-0. Lynn gets it back. Braylon Roberts takes a quarterback draw to the house. Wow. First play, and that set the tone for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's fun to go watch Lynn, especially if they're at home when that train comes by.
Yes,
awesome.
that's fun.
All right, so let's talk about Winston County a little bit. We talk about how good they are.
Right.
They're our number 1 team.
They are unanimous number 1.
Yes, because they're only undefeated 7-0. But, they've never won a region title. Now, people will say they won a region title. I know online it kind of mixes them together, but regions didn't start till 2000.
Oh, really?
So if you have a region title before that, you're actually talking about an area title, and those were a lot easier. You only had to beat like 3 teams.
Okay.
Yeah, so now you have to go through 7.
Very tough slate.
So they're 1 win away from their first ever region championship.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I mean, it was I kind of liked area because you could schedule. You made up most of your schedule.
Right.
With region, the state makes up most of your schedule, and you get like 3. That's the bad part about it. Like if you say you're Carbon Hill, you can't play Winston County, Lynn, and Meek. You couldn't do it.
Right. You have to choose between one.
Yeah.
Last 2 years has been Winston County. This 2 years gonna be Meek.
Yeah, but I do like that about the area. But They had not been ranked in 15 years till this year, Winston County. And they've given up 39 points. I mean, in 7 games.
Is that good? Is that good?
Let me do the math here. I think that's like 5.
Five and a half.
Five and a half points a game.
You can win allowing 5.5 points a game. You
Yes.
can win very
and
easily
then
doing that.
They have probably two of our best players outside of Griffin and Thomas.
Right.
Kelly has 7. That's the quarterback.
Landon Kelly. He's done very good.
Yes, he has 791 passing yards, 448 rushing. I mean, these guys can do anything.
Right. And, he's got 21 touchdowns, Kelly does, compared to just one interception. And that 21 is combining rushing touchdowns, which he has 8 of, passing touchdowns, which he has 13 of. Man, he's been really good.
Yeah. And Clemens, Chris Clemens, who's the receiver, he can also run it. He has 1,111 yards total and 12 touchdowns through 7 games. So I just don't see anybody stopping this team running. 290 to 39. I mean, it's just crazy.
That's unreal how to outscore an opponent through 7 games. All their opponents, 290 to 39.
And a great place to watch a game, Malcolm Blake Stadium over there. And especially when they're this good.
Right,
right. It's going to be packed. They only have 3 games left, so I think they're off this week. They go to Tharptown, Decatur Heritage, which will be for the region.
That'll be a tough test.
Yes, and then Faultville at home. So, yeah, that Decatur Heritage game is going to be huge in a couple weeks.
Can't wait for it.
All right, so jump into college now. And so we were talking about how good Alabama was just a week ago. It seemed like it was
It feels
a
like
month
it's been
ago,
a couple
right?
of years.
A couple of years. The biggest win ever. Is this the worst? So Alabama loses to Vanderbilt. What was the score?
40 to 35.
40 to 35.
Tried to erase it from my memory.
I know. It's one of those games, when Auburn has a game like that, I will not watch anything.
You go out and mow the grass.
I want to hear about it. Yeah, I'll mow the grass during the game.
After the game.
But this game was so close you couldn't go mow the grass.
No, you had to keep and watch it because it looked like Alabama was going to fight back and win it in the end until Milroe fumbled and Vanderbilt recovers it. They go down and scored. And Alabama was able to put another touchdown on it, make it a one-possession game.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a questionable decision not to kick the onside kick. But with 3 timeouts, not to mention the 2-minute timeout.
That's right.
It looked like a good decision at the time. Didn't work out. It was not a good look.
Where do you rank that as bad losses?
All time or just
it's hard to go. Nah, all time probably not.
Well, not all time because I looked over. I know Alabama's got a great tradition, but in the 1950s they lost to Villanova 41-18 once. So you can never say it's the worst loss in school history because that would be just an extreme overstatement.
There's been a lot of overstatement this week.
Very much so.
A lot.
There's been a lot because Alabama still has every single goal in front of it. There's the race for the SEC championship game.
Yes.
Wide open. The playoff
It really is.
Playoffs. If the playoffs were today, going by the rankings, Alabama would still be in it, even though they lost to Vanderbilt. So every single goal is still on the table. It's just a matter of whether Alabama can turn it around or not.
Yeah, Alabama fans always overreact.
I know.
I mean, it's when you're that good.
When you beat Georgia,
you're just so
then you
good.
turn around and lose to Vanderbilt. And maybe this is a better Vanderbilt team. The worst part about losing to Vanderbilt is the name Vanderbilt's attached to it. Because everyone associates Vanderbilt with not football.
If you put Ole Miss on that helmet, they probably won that game. You know what I mean? But when did Alabama lose to Tennessee?
That was 2 years ago, 2022.
I remember that year I was in line at the store after they had thrown, if you remember, they had thrown the goalpost in the river.
The Tennessee River, yeah.
And I remember they said they had wished that Saban had been thrown in the river as well.
Gosh.
That's
a bit of an overreaction. Yeah. And to be fair, the Vanderbilt fans did haul the goalposts 3 miles down Highway 70 into the Cumberland River.
Major road. The major road in Nashville.
Just students carrying a goalpost.
Street. That was very impressed. Throwing in the river.
It took them because, when you're carrying goalposts, you're only going a couple of miles an hour. It took them over an hour to get there. That's nonstop walking with a goalpost on your back for an hour.
Wow.
How would you like to try that?
I would be sore the next day. Very sore.
They weren't feeling any pain, I'll guarantee you.
So I know this kind of brings back Mike Shula vibes, but this is over.
I wouldn't remember that.
No, it does. I remember one year that there was some bad years in there. They lost to Hawaii twice in a row. I mean, But yeah, this is I don't think it's that bad.
You can recover from
if
you go about it the right way. respond the right way, you can recover from a loss to Vanderbilt.
This is still a loaded team.
Oh, yes. It's really,
I'm going to chalk that up
talented.
to just craziness.
Craziness and motivation, because Nick Saban decided to say that Vanderbilt was the worst home atmosphere in the SEC.
That didn't help.
It did not help. It motivated Vanderbilt. And also, Alabama was just overconfident, I reckon. Didn't take Vanderbilt seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the game, the whole season, that Vanderbilt had been preparing for. You can't do that.
Yeah, unbelievable. This is not a bad Vanderbilt team.
Not really.
And I had Auburn's marked down Vanderbilt for a win,
I wouldn't do that.
I'm not.
And here's
No.
the funny thing. Vanderbilt has another number 1 team coming because Texas is traveling to Vanderbilt in a few weeks.
I didn't know that. Wow.
So I bet Texas
Texas
won't
will
take
be
them.
ready now. Yeah,
Texas won't take them for granted.
Now you can show them tape. Look what happened,
Yeah. But this will help the rest of the country to realize that with the NIL landscape, with all the conference realignment, you can lose to any team and you can beat any team in the Power Four any given week. It's just the most blatant example of that we've seen in a long time. You beat Georgia one week and you lose to Vanderbilt the next. That's the SEC
incredible.
now.
Yeah, and what a great quarterback. What I like is Vanderbilt just went for broke. You'll see these teams try to, let's just run the clock out, and they end up losing.
Right.
And Vanderbilt's just going for it. And, yeah, that was a good game for them. I did have a show and tell today. Look, I found this today. I was an Alabama fan at one point. See, it's an Alabama wallet. Yes.
Why were you an Alabama fan for one point?
I grew up, and my dad never really said Roll Tide or War Eagle. So I grew up in a house where I got to choose.
Oh, okay.
I mean, and did I make the right choice? Maybe not. I don't know.
If you were stuck with an Alabama fan, you'd have had a lot happier football memories.
Right. But so I really didn't grow up with anybody telling me I should root for this team. So I kind of like both of them for a long time. So I had this Alabama wallet, and inside of this is
you got
like
any money?
No. Well, yes. There's coins in here.
Ah.
Have you ever heard of a Susan B. Anthony coin?
Yes.
Well, so now you have one.
Well, I appreciate it.
I bet that's at least worth $1.01. Hopefully.
Well, is it $1?
It's
yeah,
$1,
worth $1,
yeah.
so at least one.
Yes.
What I always loved about this is that the eagle on the back of it, you think it's flying over the earth, but it's not. It's on the moon. You can see the earth in the background.
Wow. I'm learning about Susan B. Anthony coins. And you probably are too.
Yes.
Right? And that wraps. Oh, wait, we're not done.
No, we're not.
We got to talk about Auburn. Yes.
See, we got to mess with your team now.
Yeah, Auburn, that was kind of expected. It was 31-13.
It wasn't that bad. And I will say,
They stuck it there for a minute.
the Georgia crowd was not into that game because Kirby Smart was complaining about his fans after the game, saying that he knew it was hot, but he had players out there in full pads in the heat trying to win, and he couldn't get any crowd support.
Wow.
So he was not pleased.
Well, it's kind of, you knew you were going to beat Auburn.
Right.
Yeah. But
Auburn
you should
kept
be
it
there.
close. Auburn kept
It was closer.
very, very close
yeah,
for a while.
they had a chance to get a little bit closer, and that was it. So 13 points.
I was proud of Hugh Freeze. He used Jarquez Hunter, which he really hasn't done this season.
It's not
he
running
used
at
him
all.
more, kept it close. So I don't believe in moral victories, but it wasn't that bad for Auburn.
Yeah. I was not mad about that. And now they get an off week before playing at Missouri, which will be interesting.
Because Missouri, they were in the
All over
top 10
the
last
place.
week, and then by the time Auburn plays them, they're going to be about 23rd.
Yes.
Because Missouri got absolutely embarrassed by Texas A&M.
Yes,
last
they
week.
did. Speaking of, we'll jump into Zach's picks. Do you have any Texas A&M on there?
We've got we have no Texas A&M.
Oh.
I'm sorry, no Texas. I apologize for
Sorry.
that, but we do have Texas. They
Okay.
played Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry.
That's hard to say. Very good.
Yeah, it is hard to say, and I think I botched it a little
No,
bit,
that was
but not
good.
that bad. It's a top 16 matchup. Oklahoma's ranked 16th. Texas, of course, took the number 1 spot in the polls back. It's in Dallas. First time that this game has been in the SEC before. Used to be a Big 12 rivalry. What do you see happening?
Yeah, I see Texas take it. Oklahoma's not very good.
No, they're not.
They're kind of better. Their record kind of makes them look better than they are. Who was their loss to?
Their loss was to Tennessee
Yeah, so, at home.
at home.
And
Wasn't that
Texas is
bad.
better. It's 10 points. So, yeah, I think Texas probably by about 10 points.
Okay. Well, I would say Oklahoma had a decent shot, but then I got back to thinking last year, Oklahoma actually pulled the upset in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So Texas is going to be
That's crazy.
inspired. I think the Longhorns will win pretty handily in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Alabama suffering a terrible upset, another team in the SEC suffered a very humiliating upset last week. Tennessee losing to Arkansas 19-14. Don't know what they were thinking because their quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, I think I got that name right.
Very good.
He was lining up. He was going for a Hail Mary, and I say Hail Mary. They had it at the Arkansas 20, down by 5. As time expired, instead of throwing it to the end zone, he tried to scramble and ran out of bounds.
Ran out of bounds on the last play of the game.
On the last play of the game with no time.
Made sure you didn't have a chance. But I was impressed by Arkansas's atmosphere.
That was
a great atmosphere. They also tore down the goalpost.
They did, but I don't think they threw it in a river.
No.
I don't even know what river flows.
I don't think
through
there's one
Fayetteville.
there. No.
There may not be. They're playing Florida, Tennessee is, and it's at Rocky Top. You think Tennessee bounces back?
Yes. Florida 3-3 now, which at one point I didn't know if they win 3 games.
That's true. UCF really laid an egg.
Yeah,
put it that way.
Florida took care of them last week. They're improving, I think, but Tennessee they're going to be mad. They're going to mow them over. It'll be like 3 touchdowns at least.
At very least. I think Tennessee will run the score up, being so mad, and I think it'll be absolutely ugly. Vanderbilt at Kentucky. Kentucky's a 2-touchdown favorite. Is there any way Vanderbilt can respond? You just beat Alabama. Could you wake up for Kentucky the next week?
Yeah, I remember going to a softball tournament where a team had everything focused on this one team and beat them, and then they lost every game after that. And I can see maybe Vanderbilt doing that. I mean, how in the world do you follow this up?
No, there's no.
There's no opponent you could play that in the SEC that you can duplicate that. I don't think. So yeah, I'm going Kentucky.
How bad?
The 14 sounds about right. Yeah.
I agree with you there. Kentucky's probably going to beat Vanderbilt pretty handily, but you can never count Vanderbilt out now. For the rest of my life, when I see people taking Vanderbilt for granted, I can be the old man yelling, "Oh no, you can't take them for granted." I remember back when I was a kid. So at least they've kind of helped their reputation. Ole Miss at LSU, top 15 matchup. Ole Miss is ranked 9th. LSU is ranked 13th. Mm-hmm. At LSU, what do you see happening?
They both have a loss.
That's true.
I think this will be this is kind of an elimination game probably, considering the rest of the SEC.
Well, LSU's loss is non-conference.
Yeah.
It was to USC, so they still have
they still have a path here.
They still have a path.
I think Ole Miss comes back. Boy, I still can't believe they lost that game
to Kentucky 2 weeks
ago.
ago.
Yeah, that was just nuts.
And Ole Miss, they've had 2 weeks to think about this game because they had last week off. So I think
I'm taking Ole Miss.
Yeah, I agree with you. Ole Miss probably win pretty handily. I know it's Death Valley at night.
LSU's just not that
They haven't
great.
been impressive.
No.
Because their only loss is to a USC team that we thought was really good.
Beat.
But then USC last week, ranked 11th, turns around and loses to Minnesota and drops completely out of the rankings.
There's only like 5 or 6 really good teams this year.
Probably so.
Yeah, and Miami's not one of them.
No.
Even though they're number 6.
Miami's ranked 6th, and they should have lost their last 2 games. And we're going off on a little tangent here.
Which we do.
We do. We do a lot. So bringing it all back in, the big matchup of the week in the Big Ten, Ohio State at Oregon. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Oregon.
Wow. It's a big game at Oregon.
Big game. And last time they played, 2021, at Oregon as well, Oregon upset Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State seems that they always come up late, or they'll be struggling in the first half. And I see that probably happening again. They'll fall down early, but they'll end up winning this game.
So you got Ohio State?
By a touchdown. Yes.
I'm going with Oregon.
Wow.
I think
I wouldn't be surprised.
Home field advantage. The Ducks are probably going to come out on fire. Dylan Gabriel, he's had a good season, but not great. Mm-hmm. And obviously, everybody remembers the first game of the season for Oregon. They nearly lost to Idaho. And then the next week, it took a last-second field goal to beat Boise State. Well, it turns out Boise State's a pretty good football team.
They're really good.
And I reckon Oregon just didn't take Idaho seriously, and that's why that game was close. So both are undefeated. I think the Ducks will be undefeated after this one. The Buckeyes not.
Well, so we did not agree on that one.
Disagreed. I think that's the first game we've disagreed on, period. Mm-hmm. And then final game, since Auburn's off, just Alabama with our local college teams hosting South Carolina. Alabama getting 3 touchdowns, 21-point favorite.
Wow, that's a big number.
That's a big number, especially after what happened last week.
Yeah, South Carolina's kind of all over the place. I really don't know what to expect there. So I just figure Alabama will be, they're going to be ready for this one. I'm going to take them with maybe by 4 touchdowns.
I would imagine they would. And, Alabama seems to have, for as long as I can remember, struggle against mobile quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Lenora Sellers for South Carolina is very mobile. He can run. He can throw. He's really good. And South Carolina's backup's got starting experience. You might know who he is. Robbie Ashford. Used to be at Auburn.
Yes.
Went to South Carolina. Not been great. Not been terrible either.
Yeah, he's been thrown into some circumstances.
He has. Had had to play against LSU, try to lead a victory there. That didn't work.
Should have won that game.
So I've got Alabama. I think it might be close for the first 30 seconds. Then Alabama's going to get fired up, and I don't think Bama will have a problem, but that's what I said last week. So we're going to leave it at that.
Yes. Yeah, I think so too. And being at home and coming off a very crazy loss, yeah, they'll be laser focused on this one.
My question is, what's the home atmosphere going to be like? Do people even bother to show up?
Well, it's one game.
Well, I know it's one game, but
Yes.
a lot of people don't think with that kind of logic.
No, they don't.
The
And they're
sky,
mad.
it's either everything's wonderful or sky is falling. There's no middle ground for a lot of people.
Yeah. Say Alabama had lost to Tennessee, would they be acting like this?
Probably. If I'm being very fair, probably.
But, yeah.
You just wouldn't realize, since you forsook Alabama at an early age, you just wouldn't realize that you can't lose any games. When
Yeah,
you're
I showed you that wallet. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, we won't go back to that, but yes. Yeah, I did. I remember I had both posters on my wall. So Alabama and all, I pulled for both. If I moved from this state, I think it would be the same. I wouldn't have posters on my wall.
No, you wouldn't.
But I think I could pull for both of them equally.
But you
Or
couldn't
maybe
do
a
that
little,
now.
well, yeah. But being here, yeah, that's impossible. Yes. So that wraps up
That wraps up
picks.
Zach's picks. That does.
Okay, and I mean, we only got a few weeks to go in the regular season here in high school.
For high school, we've only got.
Curry has 3 weeks left. Dora
Goodness.
has 3 weeks because they both ended the season early.
Right. But Dora probably going to make the
Playoffs,
playoffs.
yes.
Curry probably not. So Dora will have some extended time. But yeah, 3 weeks left for Curry.
Yeah, so get out and enjoy these teams while you
Yes,
can.
get out and enjoy it.
Like Winston County only has 3 games left, two at home. Yeah, so get out and watch these teams. These kids, they don't have to play. And
They put in a
put
lot of work. They
They do.
sacrifice a lot
Yes.
of time where they could be doing other things, not risking their necks.
Yes, they could be at home gaming.
Yes. Or watching football.
Yeah, anything. All right, so that wraps up our show. And I guess we will be back next week.
We will.
After Alabama victory,
Hopefully.
probably.
Hopefully.
So I want to thank Jake for producing, Bevill State for sponsoring, and get out and see that new gym.
Yes. Go out
One
and
day
see
we're
it.
going to have a picture of it.
One of these
And
years.
yes, it is really incredible. You would not even recognize it. I showed it to my wife, and she was blown away. Everybody is. All right, so like and subscribe. Hopefully you liked what you saw today.
Hopefully.
Yes.
I hope so.
Yep. And we'll see you next week.